We all know this is the way, the rallying cry, the code, the thing Mandalorians mutter before grabbing their blasters or suiting up in Beskar. But let's be real. How many of us wrote them off as just a bunch of pragmatic warriors? No gods, no prayers, no fluff. Just fight, survive, repeat. Turns out, we were dead wrong. Beneath the armor, the blasters, and the no helmet off rules, there's a deep, pulsing spiritual current that shaped Mandalore for millennia. It's not the fire and brimstone kind of faith. It's quiet, gritty, and so woven into their lives, you might miss it if you're only watching for lightsabers or space battles. Let's pull back the curtain on the beliefs they don't shout about. Ancient rites, forgotten traditions, and a reverence that's kept their culture alive even when their planet was reduced to ash. First off, let's debunk that no-faith myth once and for all. Mandalorians aren't anti-spiritual, they're anti-pointless spiritualism. They don't kneel to gods or chant to the stars for favors. Their faith is rooted in the things that matter, their clan, their home, the hands that forge their armor, and the foundlings they raise. It's a spirituality of action, not words. Take the old rite of the soil, a ritual they'd perform before planting crops or reopening a Beskar mine. An elder would take a handful of Mandalore's dirt, mix it with a shard of Beskar, the metal that's their lifeblood, and whisper, "We do not take from you lightly. We give back with honor, with protection, with life." It's not a prayer to a deity. It's a promise to their planet, a recognition that they're not rulers of Mandalore, but its stewards. During the Purge, the Empire tried to erase this. They burned the ancient texts that recorded these rites, executed the elders who led them, and mocked Mandalorians for wasting time on dirt and metal. But here's the thing about Mandalorian spirituality, it's not written down in books. It's passed down in actions. A mother teaching her kid to mix Beskar shavings into the soil before planting a garden on Tatooine, a tiny piece of Mandalore far from home. A warrior whispering to his armor before a fight, "Protect me, not for my sake, but for the foundling waiting for me." These aren't just habits, they're the ghost of that old rite of the soil, the spiritual thread that kept them connected to Mandalore even when they couldn't set foot there. Let's talk about the rites that survived, hidden in plain sight. The foundling ceremony. We've seen it with Din and Grogu, but we only got the surface. Yeah, there's the armor, the creed, the "this is your clan now" speech. But the unseen part, the binding of the Carta, the heart. After the formal stuff, the clan elder takes a small Beskar pendant, heats it gently over a flame, and presses it to the foundling's forehead, not hard enough to hurt, just enough to leave a temporary mark. They whisper an ancient phrase, "Your Carta is now one with ours. We will bleed for you. We will mourn for you. We will never let you be alone." It's a spiritual contract, not a legal one. Mandalorians don't just adopt foundlings, they bind their souls to them. That's why Din would cross the galaxy for Grogu. That's why Bo-Katan cried when she formally accepted Grogu into her clan. It's not just love, it's faith. Faith that the clan is more than a group of people. It's a single, shared soul. Then there's the Forge's Prayer, a ritual blacksmiths have performed for centuries, even when the Empire banned it. When melting down Beskar to make armor, the smith doesn't just heat metal. They hold a foundling's hand, usually the youngest in the clan, and say, "May this Beskar be as strong as our loyalty. May it shield the innocent, not the cruel. May the wearer remember, power without heart is just a weapon. Power with heart is Mandalore." It's why Mandalorian armor isn't just indestructible, it's sacred. A warrior's armor isn't just gear. It's a physical manifestation of that prayer, of the clan's faith in them. When Din's armor gets damaged, he doesn't just fix it. He takes it to a Mandalorian smith, not a random mechanic, because he knows the smith will recite that prayer again, infusing the metal with the same spirit that's kept Mandalorians alive for ages. And let's not forget the Vigil of the Lost, a night where clans gather to remember those who died in battle. They don't just list names. They light candles made from Beskar wax, a rare, sacred thing, and each person tells a story about the fallen. A story about how they saved a foundling, how they shared their rations with a stranger, how they died protecting the clan. The candles burn all night, and at dawn, the wax is collected and mixed into new Beskar forges. The fallen are gone, their Carta. Their heart lives on in the armor, in the clan, in the stories. It's why Mandalorians never say goodbye. They say, "Until we meet in the forge." This is the spirituality no one talks about. It's not flashy. It's not dramatic. But it's the reason Mandalore hasn't stayed dead. The Empire could burn their cities, but they couldn't burn the rite of the soil. They could kill the elders, but they couldn't kill the Forge's prayer. They could scatter the clans, but they couldn't break the binding of the Carta. Mandalorians aren't just warriors because they're good at fighting. They're warriors because their spirituality demands it. Demands they protect the clan, honor the planet, and keep the faith alive in every action. So the next time you hear, "This is the way," remember, it's not just a code. It's a spiritual promise. A promise to carry the hearts of the fallen, to nurture the land that raised them, to bind their souls to the foundlings who represent the future. Mandalorians aren't just pragmatic. They're faithful to each other, faithful to their home, faithful to the unseen spirit that makes them more than just soldiers. Mandalorian spirituality isn't something they save for special occasions. It's not chants in a temple or prayers at dawn. It's in the way they heap Beskar over a forge, in the way a parent passes down a helmet to a foundling, in the quiet moment they take off their armor around people they trust. It's woven into the boring, everyday stuff. The stuff that doesn't make for epic space battles, but is the real reason their culture hasn't shattered. Let's break down how those unspoken spiritual vibes show up in their daily lives, turning just living into something that feeds their souls and keeps their community unbreakable. First, daily rituals. Small, quiet acts that honor the old ways. You'd miss them if you weren't looking. A blacksmith pausing to rub Beskar dust on their forehead before striking the metal. A family setting an extra plated dinner for the ancestors, even if the kids roll their eyes. A warrior running their thumb over the engravings on their gauntlet before a mission. These aren't random habits, they're tiny spiritual check-ins, rooted in the old beliefs we talked about. Take the forge ritual. Every Mandalorian blacksmith, no matter how modern, does it. When the Beskar is hot enough to glow, they lean in and whisper something. It's not a spell, usually it's a name. A parent who died, a foundling they're making the armor for, a clan member who fought bravely. My Mandalorian friend Cora, she's a smith on Navarro, told me she whispers her grandmother's name every time. "She taught me to forge," she said. This way, she's still part of it. That's the ancestors' gaze, right there, turning a routine workday into a way to keep the dead close. Most clans, even the ones scattered on Tatooine or Naboo, still set an extra plate. It's not for a guest, it's for the lost ones, the clan members who died in the Purge, the ancestors who built their legacy. They don't say a big speech. They just set the plate, pour a little spot of spatchka or water for the kids, and pass the food around. It's a quiet, "we haven't forgotten you." And when the meal's done, they scrape the leftover food into the dirt or a potted plant. If they're in a city to feed the land, a nod to their nomadic roots, when the land and stars were their providers. These small acts don't change anything. They don't bring back the dead or fix the broken planet, but they keep the spiritual thread alive, reminding them they're part of something bigger than themselves. The symbols that mean more than they look: armor, foundlings, unmasking. Let's start with armor. It's not just metal, it's a spiritual artifact. Every scratch, every engraving, every piece of Beskar tells a story. A clan symbol carved into the chest plate, that's the ancestors' gaze watching over them. A scratch from a battle with Imperials, that's a badge of honor, a story to tell the next generation. When a foundling gets their first armor piece, usually a small cuirass or a gauntlet, it's not just, "Here's protection." It's a ceremony. The elder will hold the Beskar up to the light and say, "This armor is your soul made strong. Wear it like you wear your clan, with pride, with loyalty, with love." Then there's the foundling tradition. We know Mandalorians take in orphans, but it's not just charity. Spiritually, foundlings are new souls. For the clan, fresh energy, a way to keep the ancestors' gaze alive. When Din took Grogu in, he wasn't just saving a kid, he was fulfilling a spiritual duty. We keep our clan going by growing it. And when a foundling is formally adopted, the clan doesn't just say, "Welcome." They add their name to the Book of Souls, a tattered journal or a digital file, for modern clans that lists every member, living and dead. The belief? The foundling's soul is now tied to the clan's soul forever. That's why Grogu's adoption mattered so much. It wasn't just Din's choice. It was the clan's spiritual renewal and unmasking. Oh, this one's big. The Children of the Watch say, never remove your helmet in front of others, but that's not just a rule, it's a spiritual boundary. The helmet is your public soul. The warrior, the protector, the Mandalorian the galaxy sees. Taking it off, that's exposing your true soul. The person underneath, the one who laughs, cries, loves. You only do that around people you trust with your life. When Din took off his helmet for Grogu, he wasn't just breaking a rule. He was saying, "I trust you with my true self." When Bo-Katan takes off her helmet around her closest clan members, she's saying the same. It's the highest form of spiritual connection. No armor, no pretense, just two souls recognizing each other as family. Why this matters. Spirituality resilience. Here's the kicker. These unspoken spiritual acts are why Mandalorians don't break. When the Empire burned their planet, they didn't just grab their blasters and run. They grabbed their Book of Souls. They grabbed their family's old armor. They kept setting an extra-plated dinner. They kept forging Beskar with their ancestors' names on their lips. Those small, daily acts of spirituality became their lifeline. Think about it. If your culture is just about fighting and rules, it breaks when the fighting stops or when you lose. But if your culture is about spiritual connections, ancestors, clan, foundlings, the land, then even when you're exiled, even when you're homeless, you still have your culture. A Mandalorian on Tatooine can't go back to Mandalore, but they can forge a small Beskar pendant for their kid. They can tell stories about their ancestors. They can take in a foundling. Those acts keep their soul alive. And it's why their community is so tight. When everyone's bound by the same unspoken spiritual rules, honor your ancestors, protect your foundlings, trust with your true self, you don't just have a clan, you have a family of souls. When Korra's forge burned down last year, Mandalorians from 3 different clans showed up with Beskar scraps, with tools, with stories of their own grandmothers. They didn't do it because they owed her. They did it because their spirituality says, your soul is my soul. Mandalorian spirituality isn't flashy. It's not dramatic. It's in the details. The whisper over the forge, the extra-plated dinner, the helmet taken off in trust. It's the belief that you're never alone, that your ancestors are with you, your clan is with you, and the old ways are with you, no matter where you are. That's the soul of the armor. That's the soul of Mandalore. It's not in the Beskar or the blasters. It's in the everyday acts of love, loyalty, and remembrance that keep their culture breathing, even when the galaxy tries to snuff it out. Mandalore's comeback isn't just about rebuilding Sudari or reopening Beskar mines. It's about something deeper, digging up the spiritual roots the Empire tried to burn out, brushing off the ash and saying, this is who we really are. For years, Mandalorians were reduced to warriors with armor and codes, but lately, they're remembering there's so much more. A people with a soul tied to ancestors, to foundlings, to the very dirt of their planet. And the best part? It's not some scholars leading the charge. It's the characters we know and love, accidentally or not, tapping into those ancient vibes like they never left. The resurgence, Mandalorians are remembering their soul, not just their swords. The Empire didn't just destroy Mandalore cities, they tried to erase its spiritual memory. They burned the old texts, killed the elders who told the stories, and pushed Mandalorians to believe their only value was in fighting. But you can't kill a memory that's woven into how you live. Now, as they rebuild, the old ways are creeping back, quietly, naturally, like grass growing through ash. Clans are reviving the vigil of the lost, again, gathering to light Beskar candles and tell stories of the fallen. Blacksmiths are whispering the old forge's prayer as they melt down scrap metal, not because someone told them to, but because it feels right, like honoring the ancestors who taught them to forge. Even the children of the Watch, once rigid about rules over spirit, are softening. They're letting foundlings participate in clan rituals. They're sharing stories of their own ancestors. They're starting to see that this is the way isn't just about helmets, it's about heart. This resurgence isn't about going back to the past. It's about reclaiming what was stolen, a sense of identity that's bigger than combat. Mandalorians are realizing that their strength doesn't just come from Beskar or blasters, it comes from the spiritual bonds that held them together when everything else fell apart. They're not just rebuilding a planet, they're rebuilding a soul. Din, Grogu, Bo-Katan, the accidental spiritual leaders. Let's start with Din Djarin. He spent years as a rule following Loner, thinking the way was about solitude and strict adherence to the Watch's code. Then he met Grogu. Suddenly, he was breaking rules to protect a foundling, removing his helmet to bond with him, and choosing family over faction. What he didn't realize, he was living the oldest Mandalorian spiritual truth. Karta Beskar, the iron heart that ties clan members together, blood or not. Din's love for Grogu isn't just fatherly affection. It's the ancient foundling tradition brought to life. When he risked everything to get Grogu back from Moff Gideon, he wasn't just rescuing a kid. He was honoring the ancestors' gaze, proving that the clan's future depends on protecting its youngest. And when he handed the darksaber to Bo-Katan, that wasn't weakness. It was humility, a trait the old spiritual leaders valued above all. Din didn't need a fancy sword to be a leader. He just needed his Karta Beskar, and that's more powerful than any weapon. Then there's Grogu. He's a tiny green foundling with a love for frogs and force powers, but he's the spiritual glue holding Mandalore together. His very existence is a reminder of what Mandalorians stand for. Family isn't about blood, it's about choice. When Bo-Katan formally accepted Grogu into her clan, she wasn't just adding a new member, she was renewing the clan's soul. Grogu's force powers even tie into the old ways. Mandalorians once believed in the gift of the stars, a vague reference to force sensitivity in ancient clans, and Grogu is living proof of that. He's not just a Jedi in training, he's a bridge between Mandalorian spirituality and the Force, showing that the two can coexist. And Bo-Katan. She's come a long way from the power-hungry warrior we first met. For years, she chased the darksaber as a symbol of dominance, but she's finally realizing that leadership isn't about a sword, it's about service. When she put aside her pride to work with Din and the Watch, when she fought alongside refugees to clear Imperial remnants from Mandalore, when she cried as she spoke of her sister Satine's dream for a peaceful Mandalore, she was tapping into the ancient spirit of Mandalorian leadership, leading with heart, not hubris. Bo-Katan's journey is the spiritual journey of Mandalore itself. She went from thinking power was everything to realizing that the true power is in uniting the clan, honoring the past, and fighting for the future. When she wields the darksaber now, she's not just a leader, she's a vessel for the ancient spiritual legacy of Mandalore. The future, rebuilding a planet, reconnecting a soul. Here's the final truth. Mandalore's future won't be strong because of its Beskar mines or its starfighters. It will be strong because Mandalorians are reconnecting with their spiritual roots. The old beliefs, honor, family, ancestor reverence, foundling love aren't just fluff. They're the reason Mandalorians didn't disappear after the Purge. They're the reason they're rebuilding now. Imagine Mandalore in 10 years. Sundari spires rise again, but this time they're surrounded by gardens where clans gather for the Feast of the Forge. Foundlings learn to forge Beskar and recite the old stories. The darksaber hangs in a temple, not as a symbol of power, but as a reminder of Tarvazah's dream of unity. Mandalorians aren't just warriors. They're storytellers, blacksmiths, caregivers, and believers. This is the future they're building, one where the spiritual roots are as strong as the Beskar armor. A future where "this is the way" isn't just a code, it's a promise to honor the past, protect the present, and nurture the future. Mandalorians aren't just reclaiming their planet, they're reclaiming their soul. And that's the most powerful thing in the galaxy. Because empires can burn planets, but they can't burn a soul that's rooted in love, loyalty, and legacy.